die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Before we begin, let's look at the background. All of Christopher Nolan's films made money, including Tenet, which had reduced numbers due to the pandemic, which is an amazing achievement when you consider that he did not get into or attend film school.
Previous Batman films, like the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher series, weren't as successful because they were incredibly stylized interpretations of the Batman character. These interpretations didn't match up with the ideas of Batman that most audiences had in mind.
The Dark Knight trilogy consists of Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Throughout these movies, Batman faces a myriad of foes. In order, these are Scarecrow, Cillian Murphy, the Joker, Heath Ledger, and Bane, Tom Hardy.
Which personally I think was great casting choices. Batman Begins was a commercial and critical success. It was made to be down to earth and dark. While Nolan and his co-writer David S. Goyer had no particular plans when it comes to sequels, the two went on to produce the trilogy. His brother also worked with him on the later two films. So let's look at the analysis now. Why was it unique? What does it do differently to past interpretations?
Well, the prior Batman movies consist of Tim Burton's Batman and Batman Returns, and Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. You know, the one with the bat nipples? While these past interpretations didn't do horribly, it still wasn't quite the kind of characterization that aligned with the audience's idea of what Batman should be. This was until Batman Begins. Being the beginning of the Dark Knight trilogy, the movie did decently well in theaters. This movie was the perfect setup for the most popular movie of the series, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was the most critically successful of the three. It is a darker and more gritty telling of Batman's story, more psychologically complex and grounded in realism, while the previous versions focused on gothic fantasy or campy aesthetic. Nolan also focused on practical effects rather than CGI.
So why was this important to Christopher Nolan?
Well, it established him as a filmmaker capable of handling immense scale and the use of profound themes within blockbuster movies.
What did producing this trilogy do for his career?
Well, it allowed him to recontextualize the superhero genre through a grounded and realistic lens. The following information was obtained from an interview with Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale. The previous versions of Batman were very stylized, and it had been a while since a new take on him was produced. In a way, Christopher Nolan was trying to produce a new take and concept on Batman that would be refreshing to viewers.
The direction the previous franchise the previous version of the franchise had gone was extremely stylized and had kind of run its course. Yeah. I think you've got to let a bit of time pass before you do something that refreshes it and kind of reinvents it.
Nolan felt an obligation to the character, stating that he's a bit of an American icon. His primary obligation was to look at the 66 years of history of Batman and draw from that an essence of what makes him a legend. However, what Nolan wanted to do was something he'd never seen before. He wanted to take on a superhero story where he's a superhero with no powers, just a man with dedication. That led him to think you can tell this story in a more realistic fashion, that it can be more grounded. In this way, the movie takes the audience on the journey along with Bruce as he becomes Batman.
I didn't think so much of an obligation to the franchise as to the character. He's a beloved, enduring American icon, and my primary obligation was to look at the history of that character, 66 years of that history, and draw from that, distill from that the essence of what makes that legend. That really was the primary obligation. And what I wanted to do was do something that I'd never seen before, which is to take on this superhero story. And he's a superhero who has no superpowers. He's the most human of all superheroes. He is just a man with incredible self-discipline and dedication. And then that leads me to think that you can tell the story in a realistic fashion. You can ground it with the textures and so forth of the real world, and in that way, hopefully, really take the audience on this journey with this character as he becomes Batman.
Wanna know how I got these scars?
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
Why so serious?
You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
So let's now look at the conclusion. What factors made Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy so successful?
It is widely considered a landmark in cinema. Rounded realism, thematic depth, meticulous filmmaking, and great casting choices.
Like Heath Ledger's iconic performance as the Joker, which he won a posthumous award for.
Thank you for watching.
I'm Batman.